Good morning. Thank you very much and welcome to our content-based presentation for Education Management 1. I just need to highlight the courses that are under this module. It's ACS EM12 and DPP EM31. I hope that you are going to prepare yourself very well for this subject for the August examination. And I'm just trying to help you through that. First of all, let us look at your study guide, study unit 1, management theories and leadership issues. That is what the unit is all about. And this unit covers various management as well as leadership theories and approaches, and also look at the difference between leadership and management. It also go ahead and look at the various causes of why managers fail, as well as a method of how to lead change, which we call change management, and how to put them into practice and how to deal with them. Now, before we get into detail as far as your study guide and preparation is concerned, let us first of all get some few things correct. First of all, you will need to read all the learning outcomes in each unit. Why? Because all the learning outcomes are actually the guiding compass, if you like, that will lead you through your study guide. So in other words, if you have to study a certain unit, first of all, you need to know how far should you get into this unit, and that you can only get by studying the learning outcomes in every, or in some cases we refer them as the learning objectives. I'm mentioning this because many students make use of Googled information. Nothing wrong with that, but you must just know that the Googled information are vast and broad, so that does not direct you exactly to what is expected from you. On completion of the unit, you should be able to master all the learning outcomes that is in your study guide. Please bear in mind that this presentation is actually not a scope. We are not demarcating work for you because we are not allowed to do that. However, we are giving you a guideline as to how to approach the examination. So you will need to study all the units that is required from you. You cannot spot, as we used to say, or you cannot only pick certain section to study, but you need to cover everything as guided by the learning outcomes in that particular unit. In the end, I will also highlight a few topics that you as students find very difficult to answer, and also the common mistakes that students are making. The topic that we are going to deal with, first of all, is what we call Total Quality Management, or the TQM, which is also covered extensively in your study guide. There we have the principles of total quality management that you need to know. We have the 8 elements of total quality management stipulated for you with relevant examples. There is a practical way how that topic is covered. For example, they talk about cement as a way of communication, the bricks. There's a little building or house that they have used as a means of illustrating what is meant by the 8 elements of TQM, and also with relevant explanation that goes together with it. The scientific management theory is also extensively covered. The benefits of scientific management theory is also illustrated. And also the criticism level against scientific management theories by the workers and employers, respectively. and management versus leadership functions. That is the comparison between management and leadership in terms of functions. It is also covered in your study guide. Henry Fayol, the 14 Principles of Management, it is also illustrated there. Although it is an old philosophy, it is still being applied in modern ways of philosophy. So you need to learn about the 14 principles of Henry Fayol, 14 principles of management, with the relevant guidelines that goes together with it. The concepts and features of leadership and leaders. Concepts and features of leadership and leaders. This take us through what is leadership and what are leaders. I apologize for the spelling of the word leadership. Concepts and features of leadership. How do we know that this person portrays the qualities of a leader? The definition of leadership. What is meant by leadership? It is very well covered in your study guide. The leadership skills. What are the skills that a leader must have to qualify as a leader? The leadership styles, the different leadership style, democratic, autocratic, and also in which situation do we use these leadership styles when they are applicable. And also in particular, the leadership style by Peter Drucker, or Peter Drucker's approach, the 3 abilities that are discussed there, also referred to as the good old-fashioned hard work. The characteristics of effective school leaders are very well outlined in the study guide. You need to go through them. The qualities of a good manager, they describe the skills that a good manager should have. It is also very well covered in your study guide, and you really need to familiarize yourself with the qualities of a good manager. The Blake-Maton managerial grid. This is a very good example of a question that can be, or that can test the way how you can apply your knowledge. As you can see, you need to understand the graph, first of all, or the grid. The bottom axis is showing the concern for production, and here it shows, the y-axis shows the concern for people, from the low level to the highest level. The same also the concern for production, from the low level to the higher level. So which means that if we look at the impoverished management, this is where the concern for people and the concern for production is very, very low compared to the extreme opposite, where the concern for people and the concern for production is very high. Those 2 coordinates are in extreme. Similarly, when you look at the authority obedience, the concern for people at this level is very high compared to its extreme coordinate, which is the country club management. So the 2 concerned are very high for production and also the concern for people. But then you have also the one in the middle, which we call the organization management, which is in the middle, and it is not extremely high and it's not extremely low. That is now the concern for people and the concern for production. So you will need to look at this grid. You need to understand what it means, And the question that comes out of this will test your ability to apply knowledge. And then study Unit 2 deals with management skills. Skills requires to be a successful manager. What are those skills that are required for you to be a successful manager? One of them is what we call the assertive communication style. The assertive communication style, passive communication styles. So those kind of styles, you must be able to distinguish them from one another. And then study Unit 3 deals with the school as an organization. Study the learning outcomes of this unit as usual. You must know what is the scope in which, through which you have to study this unit. This unit looks at the school as an organization, but then it has some subtopics. Universal features of an organization. What is the universal feature of a school as an organization? What are we looking at to classify the school as an organization? So the school has to comply with certain criteria or standards, if you like, that makes it a universal organization. Types of organization, we have closed organization and open organizations. You need to be able to describe why do we say this is a closed organization and this one is an open organization. School culture. I always make an example when it comes to school culture as part of its hidden curriculum. There are certain things that are really not written out in a school setup, but that you experience, that you absorb when you reach a certain school. For example, the quietness in a particular school, the way the people are communicating with each other depicts that there is a certain culture that is developed in that particular school, and that has become part of its hidden culture. So school culture can be positive, or it can also be a negative school culture. So depending on what has been perpetuated in that particular school environment. For you, if you want to familiarize yourself much more, you will need to study the book written by Van der Westhuizen, section 12.5.3, which is page 624 up to 629. That will give you more insight into the nature and role of school culture as part of its hidden curriculum. School as a formal and informal organization. Again, there are certain criteria or standards for us to clarify that the school is a formal organization or a school is a informal organization. And the school can fall in both categories, both as a formal organization or an informal organization, depending on the group that you are dealing with. Are you dealing with a formal structure of the school, or are you dealing with an informal structure of a school? The school is a professional organization. For us to say the school is a professional organization, there are certain standards that must be reached, that must be complied with. And those are the features that you need to describe for you to qualify the school as a professional organization. And then another topic deals with the rights and responsibilities of employees and learners in a school. We know that learners have rights and they have also responsibilities. Employees have also rights and they have responsibilities. These rights and responsibilities are also enshrined in the Namibian Constitution. They are also enshrined in the Education Act 2001 and 2004. You will need to familiarize yourself with these rights and responsibilities, But I must mention that when you take it from the Namibian constitution, it's more broad and general. So you will need to bring it down to the school context. Differentiate between the concepts, a right and a responsibility. And according to the Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, right is a moral or legal claim to have or get something or behave in a certain way, whereas a responsibility is defined as a duty to deal or take care of something or someone so that you may be accountable if something goes wrong. So you cannot have only the rights and not have the responsibility. A child has the right to go to school, but has the responsibility to learn. Rights and responsibility of learners as applied to the school context or to a school situation. Unit 4 deals with the management issues regarding secondary schools. In this unit, the focus is on practical issues regarding educational management and secondary school level. Issues such as what are the responsibility of the principal and what are the responsibility of the head of departments, the parental involvement, as well as the information management are also covered in this unit. Quality control, performance and achievement of staff members and learners. Practically, this unit looks at the day-to-day running of activities at school. For example, the rewarding and recognition of teachers and learners. I'm sure that every school is having a reward system. They also having a system of recognizing those that have achieved. So you need to study this and also give example from your own school, because it is something that you are dealing with from day to day. Financial management, that study unit 5, it is essential that the principal make sure that he or she is knowledgeable about the basic process involved in managing the school's accounts, budgeting, and the system and controls that are necessary to ensure that the school's money are well spent and not misappropriated. So the unit deals with those. They deal with their budgeting, they deal with the control of monies, and so on. And also the source of generating income for school, analysis of income generating resources. As a school, you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your school and to rely on your strength or the strength of the school. Whether you look at the school's infrastructure, some schools are having, for example, soccer fields that they can hire out in order to generate money for the school. Others will have human resources experts, people that have a background of training in terms of financial management or in terms of marketing. Human resources. They can make use of these human resources in order to identify them as sources of income generating. There are various ways how income generating can be done at various schools. For more information, you can also read the book by Clark, which gives some guidelines and some examples. That's Clark 2007 from page 313 to page 321. I believe you have that textbooks. If you don't have, please get in touch with IOL. I'm sure they will be of assistance to you. Study Unit 6 deals with health and safety management issues in secondary schools. These are very important issues such as the drugs or drug uses in schools, sexual harassment and bullying. These topics are very well covered under the Study Unit 6. And it also gives the features of a safe school environment, looking at the fencing of the school, looking at the building of the school to provide a safe environment to staff members as well as learners. It deals with safety and health issues. the rules and procedures that must be followed in order to uphold safety and health issues. The unit also deals with the hygiene at schools, very important, safety and security at school. That brings us to the common mistakes that students are making during or before examination. First of all, many students do not prepare themselves well in advance. As you hear this presentation, you must already start preparing yourself for the August examinations. That will eliminate you to be overwhelmed with a lot of work. You need to prepare yourself thoroughly. Neglect to study all study units thoroughly. Many students, they do what they call spots. They don't go through every topic, every unit, and have ample knowledge in order to tackle the examination. So you are guided by the learning outcomes, as I said numerous times, for you to study and to know how deep you should go as far as the study guide is concerned. Pay attention to the meaning of verbs at the beginning of each unit. There are verbs, or maybe the beginning of each module, there are verbs that explain the study guide, that are explained in the study guide. This will not only give you an idea of the type of question to expect, but also guide you how far you have to study a given topic. Some students' inability to interpret the question correctly. Some students lack the ability to interpret the question correctly and to give appropriate answer. So there are certain questions where your application or the application of knowledge is expected. And if you do not interpret the question correctly and then give the correct answer, then you won't score marks for that particular question. For example, a question like this one. When you look at the question itself, it states, use the figure to clarify the relationship between administration and management in terms of its hierarchy. The figure is there. The figure, you can see it, and then it is divided into two main sections: administration and management. So the figure wants you to look at the differences between management and administration, but also in terms of the hierarchies, which is now the top level management, the middle level management, and the lower management. Now, when you look at the figure, it is giving you the functions at the top level management compared to the functions. Compare the two functions, management and administration, in terms of time that is given. When you look at top level management in relation to management, you see that there is little time that is allotted to top level. So in other words, in terms of management, although there is not much difference between management and administration, but in terms of management, the top level devote more time to administration, while they devote a little time to management. Middle level management, it's equal when you look at the time that is allotted. Middle level management is equal in terms of management and also in terms of administration. Now let us look at the lower level management. It is exactly the opposite of the top level management, because the amount of time that is allotted for management as compared to administration, at lower level management, there is more time given to management function and very little time given to administration in terms of lower level management. So which is saying I am now looking at the figure and I'm interpreting it, and I am now giving relevant information based on the knowledge that I am applying. Here it is in words. First, you need to interpret the figure. You understand what it represents. That is the demarcation of time devoted vis-a-vis, that means in relation to the functions, administrative and managerial, in relation to the hierarchy, which means top level, middle level, and lower level management. That's it. That is now a very typical example of how you can interpret a question and apply your knowledge. In general, a number of students did not study as hard as students should study. Students are actually supposed to study very hard. You cannot just perform beyond expectation without studying. And there were some elements of students that you could see that no effort was given. They did not read, they did not study, and the consequence is you will fail if you don't study. Students are supposed to study. Another example of a question where you can apply your knowledge, that is now the diagram that shows Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need to understand, first of all, what is meant by the needs. Physiological needs, for example, hunger, shelter, and so on. And the needs that are covered under safety needs, social needs, and so on. Because the question was, demonstrate how you would apply Maslow's hierarchy of needs to the classroom situation. Now, apart from understanding the hierarchy, you also need to use the information that you have in order to apply that information to a classroom situation. So in other words, the question assumes that you have studied and understood, I'm sorry for the spelling of the word and, the question assumes that you have studied and understood Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. So the question is testing your ability to apply knowledge in a classroom situation. So many students find they would describe the various needs, but then they do not go ahead in terms of application. For example, students describe the concept, they give the example. If we take the first hierarchy of needs, that is now physiological needs, hunger, for example. So you describe that the concept, what the physiological hierarchy of needs mean, and then you give an example and you say, hunger, a child that is hungry in a class, for example. That's a practical example from a classroom situation. And then you tell us, what are you going to do about it? And that could be, you refer the child to a feeding scheme, if you have a feeding scheme, or you can have the child have an early break to eat. So in other words, you are addressing the needs, which is hunger. So that is now the complete application to the question. You have described what the concept is, you have given practical examples, and now you have also given a practical solution to the problem that you encounter in a classroom situation. So that's a typical example of how you can apply your knowledge in a given situation. That will bring us now to the end of our presentation today. If you have further questions about this presentation, you can send me an email at gkandetu gmail.com, or you can call me at the number that has appeared on your screen at the beginning of this presentation.